is Catherine and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the books that I read in January. Now, January was not a great reading month for me. I just really wasn't motivated to read. I think maybe that had to do with some of the things going on in the news. But I did manage to read 3 books, and that was mostly just because they were library holds that I've had for quite a long time that finally became available. So I picked them up and I read them. So the very first book that I finished in January was A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This was the very first Naomi Novik book I've ever read. I've heard a lot about her on BookTube, especially with Rooted and Spinning Silver being so popular. I actually have Spinning Silver up there on my shelf to read eventually. But this was the very first book by her that I read, and I actually loved it. I ended up giving it 5 stars. The reason I was attracted to it is that it's a story about a magical school. And magical school settings are usually something that I really enjoy. And that was really the only reason that I picked it up. I knew it was magical school. So in the story, you follow a teenage girl. I believe she's in her sophomore year at the school. And you just kind of follow her, I don't want to say adventures, but her adventures as she navigates school life and eventually kind of has to come to battle some of the monsters at the school. I don't want to give too much away. I will say that this book throws you right in, and at the very beginning it's kind of info dumpy, and I know that's not everyone's favorite. It's not even my personal favorite, but it worked for me. It was palatable enough that I was able to push through it. I really enjoyed the main character. She was sarcastic, she had an attitude, she wasn't really afraid to be herself, and I really liked that about her. I also really just enjoyed the unique magical school setting. This was something I hadn't seen before. The school is almost like its own character. There's no teachers or faculty at the school. The school does the teaching. The students are the only people there, but there are other entities there, monster type beings that are always trying to get into the school and get to the students there and kind of feed off of their power. And there's a balance between those monsters and the school and the students, and it was really interesting to read. I also really enjoyed it because it was pretty political. It was a lot about the different magical factions in the world and how they worked, and I really enjoyed that. In that respect, it reminded me a lot of An Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard, which I really enjoyed. So this book overall, I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. It had great themes of friendship. It also took time to examine class and privilege, and I just thought it was really good. I will definitely continue with the series when more books come out, and I'm going to pick up Spinning Silver at some point. So unfortunately, after that book, things went downhill. I ended up picking up Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth, and this book, I didn't really know what to expect going in. I had heard kind of dark academia, horror vibes. Now having read it, I'm not sure I would classify it as dark academia or horror. I don't actually know how I would classify it, honestly. It's a dual timeline story. One's a historical timeline and one is in present day. And in the present day timeline, you're following a cast of characters as they make a movie about the things that have happened at this particular boarding school in the historical timeline that you're also experiencing. And for me, the dual timelines didn't really work. I would have been happy with a book that was just the historical timeline. There were things about the present timeline that I really enjoyed. All of the movie making aspects I really liked. I thought it was interesting. There was really good LGBTQ plus rep, some of it really overt, but also just characters that were, you know, non-binary and had they them pronouns, and that was just in the book. There was no to do about it, which was really nice. But the present day timeline just, in the end, didn't do it for me. I didn't feel like there was enough connection between myself and the characters, between the characters. It just didn't work, and I really wish the book had been historical fiction and had been edited down. I would have been able to enjoy it more. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars because there were aspects of it that I liked, but overall it just wasn't that great for me. Oh, I should also mention the narrative style in that book didn't really work for me. It was an omniscient narrator that was constantly talking to us, the reader, and that's not something that I typically enjoy, and I didn't enjoy it in this book either. And the third and final book that I read in January was Such a Fun Age by Kiley, Reid. This was a book that was really big last year, and when it first came out, I thought, ooh, I want to read that. And then the more hype and the more talk about it there was, the less and the less I felt like I wanted to read it. But I put in a hold in my library anyway, and now, I don't even know, maybe 6 months later, it finally became available, and I said, you know what, I'll read it. I'll see what it's about. Basically, the story starts with a young Black woman who is babysitting a young white child, getting accused of kidnapping the child when they are seen in a grocery store together late at night. And you basically follow the babysitter and her life, and the mother of the child, the white mother of the child, and her life in the surrounding months or so of the incident. And I get why this book was so popular. It's very easy to read. It's digestible, even though the subject matter is complex. It reads a lot like Big Little Lies or the kind of middle-aged mom group books. I don't really know what category to put them in, but they're very easy to read. You dive right into the characters. It is character driven, and I get the popularity of it for those reasons. Even someone who doesn't usually like to read is going to pick up the book and probably feel very attached to it very quickly. I think the book really talked about and explored some important issues and some very timely issues. I just feel like it did it a bit too obviously. I think things could have been a little bit more subtle, and in that case, maybe a bit more realistic. I do think that the events of the book are realistic. It was just really in your face, so as the reader you didn't have to do a lot of legwork, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not my personal preference. So again, I see the wide appeal. It's an important topic, it's timely, but I get why other people like it, and I would still recommend this book to people who are interested in it. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars because I thought it was well done for what it was. It just wasn't quite what I had hoped it would be. It just wasn't quite what I had hoped it would be. So that was all I read in January. Just 3 books, not very much. This is really a testament to the fact that I am a mood reader and I didn't feel like reading in January. But February is off to a better start, so hopefully next month we'll have more books to talk about. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you in my next video.